right, name.
Stephen Anthony.
Birthday.
11/11/55.
Name.
Jean Carolyn. Jean Carolyn, 1/17/40.
40.
I'm Paul.
Name.
Cirilla Joan Cooper, and my birthday is February 24th, 1949.
I am Teresa Louise, and birth date is 10/9/47.
She's soon going to be.
Virginia Elizabeth, 2/5/46.
Kathleen Ann, 9/4/44.
No, you're Catherine Ann.
John Edward, 7/17/42.
I'm Rosemary. I'm setting in for Mary Frances, whose birthday is May 24th of 1938.
Dorothy Arlene Ling, May 12th, 1952.
Victor Joseph, birthday 10/11/50.
Stephen
And
Lawson.
then she brought home a guy from there that had not seen snow before.
Oh my.
And thought we still had cowboys and Indians.
No, he knew better than that.
But, and that, we was talking about that, I'll never forget that. Of course, we was all in anticipation of her boyfriend coming. And that Christmas Eve, it started snowing.
Oh, yeah.
And just snowed. Of course, at that time, you go into Yates Center, and I mean, the square was all lit up and everything.
Silver
And
bells were playing.
it was kind of like, he's almost like a storybook deal, you know. And then, of course, I remember that evening, you know, as younger kids, we'd all, you know, kept looking, you know, for a car coming, you know. I mean, wait for this. And then finally the guy comes, and anyway, he starts bringing stuff in. He's got all these boxes of fruit and nuts and everything else, you know, from where they raised out there in Fresno or where it was. But anyway, I remember that. I'll never forget that. But just because, and the thing, like I say, made it so special too was just the fact that it started snowing earlier in the day, and it was just a perfect Christmas Eve. I mean, you know, it was just, I don't know if it was Christmas Eve, but it seemed like, and it just kept, you know, one of those days that you never forget, or I never.
And so at that point, how old was everyone?
Well,
Around that Christmas.
I would have been probably 22.
Well,
I thought it took you 8 years to get through college.
well, she was 22. I would have been 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
That's right.
I've always been 10 years behind you. I can't catch up.
I like to say with Rosemary about how we used to like to have dances, and guess where all these young girls were? They were upstairs.
Yeah, we'd be up looking through
that register up there,
Register.
and they'd be digging in and
Yeah.
fighting over who pushing each other out so the other one get in there. You've had enough fight.
Because we weren't allowed down there.
Yeah, we weren't allowed, so we looked through the register. I remember
So,
that.
did your parents have favorites?
I never.
Who was your mom's favorite?
I don't think
Mercedes. Mercedes?
She was European.
Okay, who was your dad's favorite?
I don't know from the.
All I know is the other paddling company, they were gonna get it. Wasn't
Dad, did you have a favorite? She's got, there's writing on there.
Yeah, you're definitely.
Yeah.
I can't think that.
I don't know.
Was it John? 'Cause he had.
He was pretty, I don't know.
I think he loved the
I don't
song.
know if
He's
he,
pretty balanced in his affection.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think so.
Yeah. Did they always want to have a large family?
My mom said yes.
Yeah.
I was told by Aunt Winnie one time that when they got married, the day they got married, they said they were going to have 12 children. They were married on the 12th, they wanted to have 12 children, and they did.
Okay.
Let's
get married on the first.
Were you the one telling me that then when Ted and Catherine Toon got married, they said they wanted to have?
They wanted to be just like Aunt Dorothy and Uncle Florian.
All right, do any of you know how your grandparents met? Not your parents, but your grandparents. Have you heard any stories about them? I don't know, the poli
I think y'all
sci.
met in the bar.
Probably church. I'm not going to say probably.
Great moonshine.
Or church social.
Oh, no, Stephen's there.
What?
Oh, Stephen's already
I was like,
Okay, did your parents have any favorite songs?
oh yes, Dad was, you are my sunshine.
Red Wing, wasn't it?
Mom
Red
was,
Wing.
Mom would, you are my sunshine. We
So-
sang
so,
that in the kitchen all the time.
Well, I've
I
heard
would
Dad
say-
sing it a lot too.
I would say all the Marian hymns were
I
both
say all
the
the areas.
favorites.
That's just
Our dad,
All the
Marian,
Stay, O Beautiful Mother.
anything you played about Mary on the piano that, you know. that-
Tis the
that was
month
their
of our
favorite.
mother.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to, you know the words?
And our, you know, Holy Queen, our dad would have you go in there and play the piano when he was sick.
Immaculate Mary.
And he'd want, do you know how to play that? And he'd want to hear how Holy Queen.
And he really liked the song, it's a Marian song, Mother Dear, will pray for us.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of his- He
And
used to play
Holy
it on the piano for me.
God, Holy God,
Holy God, we praise
What is
thy
that name? That was one of Dad's.
Yeah.
Yes, that was.
Ponder some
definitely-
Jalica's Dad.
If I wanted to get on to work, I could play the piano for Dad.
Yes,
Can all of you play the piano?
I used to.
I think all of us girls.
We tried on you, but you
You did play guitar.
Pardon?
You did play guitar? I thought I heard you play
Huh?
guitar.
Guitar?
They got me one for Christmas, but it didn't go very far.
I remember us three played a trio on the
yeah.
piano.
Piano bench, yeah. King Cotton, or Cotton King or something like that.
King Cotton.
King Cotton.
And they'd sing around the piano too.
Miss-
What'd you play, baritone?
Mrs. Cantrell,
Baritone for 1 year, yeah.
I played trumpet for a year too, I hated that.
the Mary Frances
They
was
don't
the
play
very
the
best
tuba.
piano
Yeah,
player.
my
Yeah.
parents was the best.
And she could play by ear, and she could still, even when she died,
Yes,
she could
she
sit down
loved
and
to
play
play the
any
piano.
song.
And that has carried through Rosemary.
And my children now. And Wendell did play the tuba also. Went to a lot of band concerts of his when he played the tuba. I do remember that.
Virginia played the French horn because when she was a senior and I was a freshman, I had to carry that sucker up that hill because they dropped us off at the mailbox and we had to walk all the way home from there. And I remember we'd have to take turns and I didn't like having to carry her French horn. It was
That
heavy.
was the deal.
And Mercedes, didn't you play the clarinet?
Me?
Mercedes.
Yeah, Mercedes, what instrument did you play?
Yes, you That's not true. I said little piano games much for days.
Oh, yeah.
Grandma played the French harp, she said, whenever she was young, and they used to play it at their house. She said she kept it in her dresser.
She did.
Yeah.
And one other thing I'd like to say, I'm really thankful that our mom really wanted
Most
all
people
us
call it
girls
a
to be
harmonica.
because that was really nice. And I think that she probably scrimped and saved up money from different things so that we could do that. So it was really nice of her.
It was really important for all the kids to take piano lessons, all the girls.
But I didn't get to the necessary. So I had to teach myself. And my dad one day said, how come you learned how to do it by yourself and the other girls had to pay for it? We did not like paying for piano lessons.
No,
Well, we
because you
had
had
to
to
work-
clean the eggs.
Yeah, we had to work to get the money, clean those eggs.
You know, put 'em in the big
Mom
part.
made me take piano
Oh, this is
for a while.
Okay, the piano that we had at home came from my dad's mother. She had bought it for her girls, like our aunts on the Leis side of the family. And then when they were done with it, Grandma Leis, by then my mom had several of us girls, and she would make sure that we learned to play the piano, so she gave it to my mom.
For what?
And my daughter Becky still has a piano, but she hasn't had it refurbished yet.
I took the piano lessons for a while.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And I do still have the harmonicas, the French harps. I bought them at the auction with them, and I still have her family.
Yeah.
I still have her harmonicas.
Now, didn't your mom have a big grand piano?
The upright grand,
Was
it's the
that?
upright grand.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't grandma's, but she did have piano. yes.
Now, the main thing I remember about, oh, she did.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, on this music deal, of course, Mom, going to high school, I had to be in band, you know. Had to learn some music or whatever, so I played the baritone, but the main thing I remember about the band was, of course, we went to KU football, whatever they call it, band day. We leave here about, I don't know, it was dark, 6 in the morning. Of course, I had a total of, I think, 50 cents in my pocket. So we get up there and we march, you know, down through Lawrence, and then we go from there, and they say, well, you can all go have lunch or do whatever and go to the student union, whatever you want to do. Of course, I mean, I'm an old farm kid. I've never been anywhere like that in life, and I'm lost. A couple of kids I kind of got to know said, we going to go eat something? I said, no, I'm really not hungry. I'll just wander around so I can see the football field. So I head down there, is in September, hotter than all get out, had on the wool uniform and everything. So I go down there, and so then everybody finally gathers up, and then we all go out before the game, you know, and it's so hot, and I was so thirsty I was about to choke. Of course, I didn't know where to go get a drink, and didn't know if I had enough money to buy anything, you know. So I go, so anyway, finally the game gets going, and they're going by, the guys got sort of like a megaphone set on Dr. Pepper and Coke, and he went by about 5 or 6 times. About that point I thought I was going to die of thirst. I finally had enough nerve. I said, how much for one of those drinks? He said 50 cents. That's exactly what I had in my pocket, 2 quarters. I gave it to him. I was so glad. So then when we're coming home that night, they stopped at Garnett, and it was long in the evening, and everybody stopped there at this hamburger joint. Everybody getting off to eat. It's Kendall Theobald, which I knew from 4-H. And I was sitting beside him, and he said, aren't you hungry? And I said, nah. I said, I don't really care to eat anything, you know. And too embarrassed to say I don't have no money to get anything. So anyway, so anyhow, I made it the whole day without anything to eat. But I mean, Mom probably had some kind of breakfast before we left there. But anyway, that's my main thing I remember about music and baritone. Just a long day in Lawrence, Kansas, hot and thirsty, and
50 cents.
50 cents.
I will say this about, she wanted us all to be in band. And the very first day that you go in there, and Mr. Kiefer, whatever his name says, he says, Keffer, he says, get into your departments or whatever they called in your section. And I'm thinking, I've never played a horn, one of these horns. I went immediately from that class and got out of there. Mom was furious with me, but I do regret not having been in band. But I didn't know how to play an instrument.
Victor liked it because his girlfriend was a majorette.
That's later on. I lasted my freshman year, and I decided I had enough. Well, of course, the other thing was, at that time they had the Mid-American Fair. It was about like a state fair. So we went up there. We went to Neil Waltrey, but every time it was on a Saturday, and then the band they'd take something out to Wichita. But every time, you know, it was a big fuss because we had work we needed to do, and so it was a big, and everything. So I remember telling the teacher, he said, oh, no, he said, you're getting really good on it. He said, you ought to stay. I said, well, I want to play sports. I don't know what I'm going to get to, but I'm out of here. I'm going to play sports. So anyway, I didn't mind it. I mean, you know, it was just, but then later on, so that was one of the advantages of the band too. I kind of forgot about it. We had some really good looking drum majors. We could really.
Yeah, I played French horn, but not very well. And we had a teacher after Mr. Keffer, and he had a glass eye, so you could never tell when he was directing. Who he was directing, it was like, are you directing this section or this section? And so the kids would make fun of him, and it was kind of sad. But like Victor said, that was some of our best times because you got to go to the Hutchins Fair, the Topeka Fair, you know, all these places, and it was. I think I usually had more than 50 cents in my pocket, but.
So what did you play, Victor?
Baritone.
That's right.
But you know what? I have dreams that I forget how to play the French horn. Probably because I wasn't that good at it.
Alright, so now we're going to switch pace real quick. And I mean, I got to ask kind of a 2-part question. One, what is your favorite, or not favorite, your best memory of Florian, of your dad? Baker?
Oh, I'd say probably my favorite is, I mean, going out working or going, you know, as a young kid, you know, working with him and I mean, if he was going to town, or it was always fun. I skipped, I don't know how much school in grade school. I mean, I got in trouble one time, the sheriff come because of me if it's plant weed. Or of course, the main thing I always loved was going to auctions, you know, like had the old farm auction. There's one of those going on, heck with school, let's go, you know, and you want to go to the auction or to have cattle, pay the cattle auction, you know, here, Burlington. So, I mean, I love sitting there listening to auctioneer, and of course, all the hubbub, and of course, always had a good place where the gal, you know, they served food, had really good hamburgers and all kinds of pies and all that. I mean, it was just always. So I mean,
and you had money with you, or Dad?
Well, Dad, of course, went now. You know, of course, yeah, he had the money. I never ever had him. But I mean, I just remember enjoying going, or even into town, going to old machine shops and stuff, and all the guys sitting around arguing about just like today, politics or whatever, and listen to all the, but, so I had a lot of good memories of, just going and one thing. And sometimes we'd go fishing and a lot of going fishing and what have you, but,
Arlene?
Well, one time we were going to Wichita, and I don't remember what the car was we were driving, but we got to El Dorado, and anyway, we got to El Dorado, and our car quit. So we went to this car dealership, and we ended up with this blue Cadillac. And I think I was in high school at that time, and we hated it because, it set us apart from everybody else, and because it was a big, huge boat, and it was,
I forgot about that one.
and we had electric windows and everything, but anyway, that was just a memory. And then at some point during the winter when we had that car, we were home for like 2 or 3 days with the ice storm, and so I asked Mom, I said, can I go to the church and practice, the organ? And she said yes. And so I was coming by the Sheedy's house, and I couldn't apply the brakes because there was a dip there, and I crashed that darn Cadillac into Charles Sheedy's car sitting there.
And I was with her.
and I had to come home to Dad, and he was in there, and sleeping in the bed. And I had to go in there and say, "Hey, Dad, I wrecked the Cadillac." But I mean, what could he say at that point? It was like so. Anyway, I think we still drove the Cadillac. I think it got fixed, but.
Now was that after the hearse?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, way after the hearse.
Now there's a mistake about the hearse. Those weren't hearse. Those were the cars they hauled.
Courtesy cars.
Pallbearers.
And I probably told my sister or whatever about the story. I don't know. When I got into the oil business, and after a number of years, this is probably in the early '80s, I went down to Parsons to try to lease some ground off of a gentleman down there. Parsons, anyway, he asked me, he said, "You want to see my car collection?" This guy owned like 45 farms. He had like on recipe cards all about. So I went down to this huge building in Parsons, and he showed me all these old antique cars. And he comes to one that's exactly the Chrysler that we rode a zillion miles in. We had the DeSoto first, and then that Chrysler. This old boy said, "Now here's a car that very few people ever even get a ride in, have ever ridden in."
I'm pointing. Mary had a little lamb.
Little lamb. Mary had a little lamb.
Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, Mary went.
Mary went.
Everywhere that Mary went, that lamb was
Sure to go.
sketchy, guys, sketchy.
Capture everything in real time.
Yeah, she's done. Her and Steffi and Paul have done a great job.
Yeah, they did. That was very nice. Thank you to everybody.
cameraman, a little questionable.
Hi, nurse Denise. Yes, you're gonna have to call me on another day.
It's not so busy.
I should be home all week.
All right.
Thank you for tuning